Welcome to the Brave Talk Show. Brave women, bold topics, nothing is off the table. In today's episode, we are actually throwing every most hottest controversial topics at all of us. It's going to be a buzz round. We don't have a lot of time to talk about them, but everything that you are like, ooh, hot topic, we're doing that today. Stick around.
I have some questions for you. Hey, brave girl, how you do the things that you do?
All right, guys, you love our hot topic segments in all of our other episodes, so I said, why not? Let's do a whole entire episode on hot topics. These ladies don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm going to bring it up on the fly, and each of them get about 60 seconds to tell me their opinions. I will time it, we will cut them off, and we will move on. Ooh. Are you guys ready?
You really going to cut us off?
Yes,
you need to cut us off. Otherwise, we're going to be like,
no, I will cut. I'm going to cut you guys off. Okay.
We should have an alarm. I can do
Should
that.
animal rights equal human rights?
Oh.
Go. On your mark, get set, go.
Yes, because I'm not a pet person, because I don't have, okay, Vera. But people say their animals are like their kids, right? And I feel like if you're gonna treat them as such, they should have, like, when I mean, right, like, a lot of people, like I said, I'm not a pet person, but yay for the pet people. But yes, that's my favorite thing, yes.
No. She's just going to say it. That's
You
the answer.
the farm lady? Yeah, no,
The farm? Well, that's what she has to say because she eats her animals.
I don't treat my animals the same as I treat my children.
Right.
No.
She wouldn't eat a human, but she would eat
But
an
let's
animal.
talk about rights. Let's talk about rights. So I kind of rights,
I do need to be kind to my animals, and that's what I think kindness.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in factory farming and all of that kind of stuff, but no, I
That's
don't
what I was
believe in the
talking
same
to. Of course,
difference.
I eat my meat.
Eat your children too.
Yeah.
I'm talking about kindness and brutality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say the same thing. I don't believe that animal rights are the same as human rights, but I do believe we should treat animals, respectfully. Is it the same as humans in the same way? No. I think, but I don't believe in dog fights, and I don't believe in killing a tiger just for his tusks, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't believe in any of that kind of a thing.
I don't think tigers have tusks, but I love that so much. Elephant.
I was thinking a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
I forgot they're
also
extinct.
She's been watching Ice Age.
Well, actually,
Way too much Ice Age. I'm such a mom.
I actually love that because that actually brings us to our next question. Legitimately, this is hilarious. So before we go on, I agree with Teresa. But next question, is it right for science to revive extinct creatures?
Hasn't anybody watched Jurassic Park? The
Right.
answer is no.
Right.
And it gave us that
It
warning
never
ahead of
worked.
time.
It never worked. Brittany?
No.
No.
I don't want nothing. I don't want,
Nature, it happens
I don't
for
want
a
nothing
reason.
coming
Don't mess
back.
with nature.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm okay.
Next question. And we'll start over here.
Okay.
Are superheroes misleading role models?
Ooh. I feel like, okay. So I think I don't want to dream of superhero, but I think as they're getting older, you have to kind of let them know as they're watching it, because there's kids like they look up to that person and they look. I think you just have to say, kind of talk to your kids about it. Like, hey, this is it's not a real person, and there's hero that can be people in your life that you look up to, but understand that people are people, that will make mistake, that will do. So I don't want to crush their dream, but I wanted them to also be realistic.
Yeah.
I actually just gave a big, huge presentation to a group of girls about superheroes. It was like a camp, and they had like a Marvel theme, and I talked about being your own superhero and the qualities that every superhero has to have, which is like bravery, kindness, empathy, all these things. And so I do feel like the typical superhero, like Marvel, like special powers, they're indestructible, they can't be killed, they don't make mistakes, is misleading. But there are parts about a superhero that all of us have in them, and if you could maybe
can you think of like a little kid that loves Spider-Man and you're like,
and you're like, you're never going to sling a web. You can't jump off buildings.
you know how much you will break their heart? So it's just
Yeah.
age to, kind of.
Right.
So I like the hero's journey. That whole, and when it's done well, even in superhero stories, I think that there's a lot that you can really glean from it. The problem is that some of the movies and the books out there show the hero's journey, or the hero's journey, and you see like they had this problem and they had to overcome it, and then they realized something, and then from that they finally were able to tap into what they were meant to be, and then they accomplished all these amazing things. That's awesome. when the movies come out, or they just come out and they're just awesome from the beginning, and you don't really see or hear the struggle that they went through prior to this breakthrough, that's where I think it can be misleading.
Yeah.
And where I think it's just boring too. It's just not, there's no substance to it.
I like that.
One thing that we've been cautious of, my husband and I, is mixing bad and good. We've noticed a lot of superheroes lately blend the lines between good and bad, and that's
Ooh, they like slide the moral code a little
Yep.
bit.
And it's not as cut and dry. It's people doing bad things for a good reason, and it just blurs the line, and we're careful of that with our kids.
I like that a lot. Okay, should math and science be the main focus in school more than art and music? What are your feelings on that?
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay, go. You start.
I just think that kids, adults, we all have different talents and abilities, and I think that would be terrible to shut down people's natural gifts and talents, and think of how boring the world would be if it was just math and science.
Yeah. While I think that schools should primarily be focused on, the basics, math, writing, and arithmetic, reading, writing, I do think that the primary focus should be that. Where I get frustrated with the education system, and I was a former teacher as well, so I got to see a lot of it, is like bringing in all of these other expectations that just are not necessary when it comes to like graduation requirements and so forth. The arts, though, like all of that, totally. I mean, that's what makes us society. That's what makes us feel. It makes us humans, is to be able to explore those and to be able to communicate in that way. So I definitely think those are very important and should be kept. But there's just so much other stuff that's in between that, let's focus on the things that matter.
Yeah.
I think you need more, because like as an adult, I'm like, math, the basic of the basic that we use. I think it's needed in school, but I feel like there's so many other things that are lacking, that we so focus on, like the ACT, the SAT, like those things are not, I think there's more to it than math and English and science.
And I'm sorry, go on.
Oh, no, go for it.
Just to even add to that, like I don't like this this A through G requirement that every single high school student, in order to graduate, has to have gone up through like this X amount of math, where it's like, unless you're going to be in a career that involves that kind of math, I don't really think that you really need that. And I would rather that kid be learning how to balance a checkbook, for example, and how to invest their money, than learning about this, graph with all these crazy codes that needs like this fancy calculator that, unless they're going to be an accountant or they're going to get into like engineering, they're not going to need. Like those kids that know that, great, get them in that. But let's just have our kids learn how to invest money and
do a different
like
form of math.
Life math, right?
Life math.
I feel like I remember multiple times, like in different grades, like 3rd, 8th, all the way up to college, a teacher would say something along the lines of, well, you have to use math because you're never going to have a calculator in your back pocket and no calculators. And I want to be like, bro, I absolutely have a calculator in the back of my pocket forever. All the math that I've ever learned, having owned businesses and everything, I've never needed anything more than what Google search can do or my phone. So my emphasis is get these kids more into creative arts, get them finding what they like, getting their passions out.
Yes.
Less math. Don't tell me what my kid has to do with math, because if you were anything like me, I really sucked at math, and I would have loved to had not be forced to take those credits and put my energy somewhere else. So balance it out on what's going to be required in school, because guess what? You absolutely do have a calculator in your back pocket.
Yep, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay, well, I need to change my answer though, because I feel like you guys changed a little bit, where I feel like the question was, should there only be math and science? I don't think so, but then I don't think that math and science should be discredited either.
I think that's I think we all kind of agreed to that,
be
right?
the
Like we
main
love
focus more than art and music, which I do think right now, like it is like if you look at the electives of like our high school here in Utah, it's required for you to do more math and science than your electives. So like I would like it to be balanced out. Like if you're going to require my kid to get all the way to geometry, like those same credits should be for their own creativity.
Yeah.
Like,
and I honestly,
like
I think like 2 years of math in high school is fine, unless you're going to get into some other
Yeah.
stuff. After that, start doing any like life math skills.
Yeah. Okay, this next one is definitely a little hotter. And just keep that in mind as you are sharing your experiences, because, yeah, you'll see. Should sex education in schools include LGBT+?
LGBT.
You missed the Q.
Oh, shoot.
LGBTQ.
LGBTQ+, and all of the above. What do you guys think?
Are you guys going to wait? So mine, I think, depends on age. I do think that some of the stuff is pushed too early in general to all kids, like on like across the board, right? Do we ignore this population completely? Of course not. I think that, for education purposes, as they get older, I think it's important to be able to highlight, hey, there's these types of these people, and this is what they prefer, and those kinds of things I think are important to recognize. But pushing, where I struggle is when they're actually pushing almost as if getting our kids to have to question their own gender identity. Like I'm seeing a lot of that type, and I'm seeing it in videos that people are sharing, like, hey, this is like, look at this teacher that was sharing this in this classroom. So like you're seeing these actual moments that are happening in classrooms where it's like, that doesn't seem like education right there. That seems like they're personal. Actually trying to get the kids to even sway a certain way, like even question their own. And I think that that's not the job of a teacher. Yeah. I really don't think.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember early on in the Brave Talk Show, you were saying one of the big reasons that you moved from California, was this you? That you didn't like that they taught sex education a certain way in school? Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to be more specific. So in Utah, let's say they are gonna for sure teach our kids about sex. We don't have a choice. How do you feel about that, including sexual contact with LGBTQ?
I would want to look at the curriculum. I really would. It's to me, it's too general. I would need to really look at what's being taught. Where I had problems with in California, for example, was that 5th graders were being taught how to have anal sex correctly. And I just don't think that my 5th grader needs to know how to have anal sex correctly,
right.
So those types of things I just didn't think were appropriate.
Right, okay. Whew.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to be bold on this one and just say, in general, I don't think sex education should be taught in schools at all. I don't want my kids learning at school that the penis goes in the vagina or that it goes in the butthole, or which I learned on the Brave Talk Show, right? I just think teach the maturation program, teach the girls about their bodies and the boys about their bodies, and then end it there. I don't think my kids don't, and I don't think anybody's kids need to learn about sex in school by a teacher.
Okay. I would say mine is similar. I want to be the one in charge of my kids' sexual education and what I feel is important and what I don't. I understand that there are some families and dynamics that might lean heavily on the school system to teach that for whatever reason. So I would like to have the opportunity to opt out without any shame, any punishment on my kid, any credit deficiency, and be fully in control of what I do, whether I choose to let them go. But I agree, the basic maturation and organs and reproductive system, but I would want to keep the sexual education.
And I don't think it has anything to do with us not being supportive of LGBTQs or anything like that. It's just that sex in general, I don't want any talk of sex in the classroom with my kids.
Yeah, I'm the same. And so it doesn't matter if it's woman and woman, man and woman, man and man. Overall, I would like to be the one to teach my children that.
I think I feel different. I think it should be an option to families. If you're going to be the one that teach your kids, then teach your kids about sex at home. But I think where Utah is a state that doesn't offer it, and it's a very high abstinence state, there's no conversation about it. So that means family are not talking about it. And
my daughter, she had a sex ed class.
Yeah, but sex ed don't have sex at all. There's no disease, there's no
you're saying our
the
sex
curriculum.
education
You
class
have to look at
it's
abstinence. You have to look at the curriculum of Utah. It is not even safe sex. It's not about the disease, it's not about that at all. And so I think it needs to be an option where parents get to opt out or opt in without shaming that they want to teach their kids, because it should be taught in the home, but a lot of home don't teach it at all. Right. So then you have teenagers are being taught by the internet, being taught by other people. So I think what it needs to be taught by, instead of just a teacher, a normal teacher, is a teacher that is a sex education. In college, we have sex education professors. That's the major. So you want to bring somebody that has the skills, that has the also kind of a clinical background on it, that can come and teach it and teach everything about it, the disease, the safe sex, the everything, because the curriculum is very pro-abstinence, nothing else. You will get sex education. It's called sex education, but it
you're
doesn't
actually not learning how to have sex safely.
Not safely, just
options.
It's a condom. You have to make sure you protect yourself with that. It's not what it needs to be. So I think it needs to be taught by a clinical professional that has the background, not just a regular teacher that got some curriculum and be like, hey, teach the class, bring people that teach it, and then yes, give parents the option to opt in or opt out, but it needs to be taught somewhere because parents are not doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my issue in California, is that they made changes to the law where they were not going to say what day that was taught. That way parents couldn't pull their kid out of school.
Oh, that's
that day.
messed up.
Oh, that's not
That's
okay.
100%
That's not
messed
okay.
up. Yeah, I would be out of there too.
Yeah, so I think everything LGBTQ plus everything needs to be taught.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question, and again, I'm going to remind you that I'm going to start timing everybody.
Yeah.
Beauty pageants are objectifying the body of women.
Well,
All right, we have two former beauty pageant.
okay, I did it once, and I was like, in
so
high,
let's
like I
let
was like,
them speak first.
Once, I did it once, and I think it does come with so much because I remember the prep up to it is really a lot. Like it's like when you look at beauty pageant, you don't see a normal size typical woman. You know, you don't see it's hard to. It's really is. The requirements is a lot. Your hair a certain way, you walk a certain way, you speak a certain way. And so it's a lot to fall into that mold. And I think little kids watching it, and even like, was it Toddler and Tiara? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
It's such,
scary.
it's scary to know that we are putting it out there because we live in a world when kids say it's like, that's beauty. And that's hard because then you have a whole generation that thinks that's exactly what beauty should be like. I think the people that do it, that's great. That's what you want to do, but I do think it is.
Yeah, so I have been in one pageant as well, but it's just the homecoming pageant
Yeah.
at high school, which is totally different. It's like you're representing the organization. So like I was drill team and someone's like student council and softball team, and there's no swimsuit. There was no talent. You did like showcase what you did, and it was like more funny. So I think that was a good experience because I got to represent my organization and I got to like learn how to be confident and like how can I best represent. But like an actual beauty pageant like Miss America, Miss Utah, I love those women for the confidence they have, and I think like there's scholarship programs and really good things about it, but like overall, like why do we need the swimsuit competition? Everyone's like, because it's fitness. I'm like, that shouldn't define a woman. Like
there's so many
we don't need
fitness,
that. Like
level of
I love the
fitness.
talent, but like we were talking
Women
earlier,
can be great,
yeah,
not
like,
be fit.
Maybe they're and like
you.
we talked earlier
Yes.
that like talents are usually like singing or playing the piano or violin or dancing, but like what about the girl who's like an engineer? How does she showcase that? What about the girl who's a professional baseball player? That's a talent, you know? So I don't think it's portraying
Every time.
every aspect of a woman. I think it is really about beauty and pretty and skinny and gorgeous, and I do think it's objectifying women.
I agree. I think there's a reason that it's called a beauty pageant. And I did one. I did one in high school. My mom made me, and I was mortified because if you knew me in high school, that was the last thing that I would do. It was a great experience where I bonded with some girls and made some new friends. But it absolutely is objectification in my eyes, where it's called beauty pageant for a reason. Take out the swimsuit portion. And get some real talents in there. Let them, like you were saying, call it a pageant and let women showcase their true strengths.
Yeah.
And be diverse in it. And then I think it'd be better.
Yeah. And I agree. I think that it objectifies, especially with the swimsuit. I think that if it didn't have the swimsuit as much, I think it wouldn't be as objectifying. And I would love to see them open up to other talents. I would love to see pageants on other things. Like what about like, you know, like female leaders pageant or like just other
female
types of
entrepreneur
pageants that highlight other things so that other women who may not consider themselves beautiful or don't care about being considered
beauty,
beautiful, like
yeah.
that's not important to them. There's so much more to being a woman that is of value
Beyond their
that I
beauty.
think that we could have pageants of all kinds. Now, I think I'm also like being idealistic, and let's be frank, sex sells. We know how the culture is. Would those pageants even get tons of views and people watching? Probably not. But
Why not?
you know, why not? Why not at least try it and see? And maybe it takes cultural change. You know, I think that as time goes by and we see what happens, I think with culture changing, we could start changing our values on what is, you know, what we would highlight more.
I like it. Okay, guys, 2 or 3 more. The next one. Is it right for potential employers to consider applicant social media activity? So if I go to a job and I'm applying, do you think it's okay that they go to my Instagram, look over, and consider what I'm doing there as part of their...
Absolutely.
I feel like I would, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. To me, it's already a public place. So it's not like you can be like, well, you can't go to my social. Well, everybody
Unless
else
it's
can.
private,
Right.
yeah.
So why not? Like if you don't want an employer to do that, then make your profile private. But if you're already putting it out there, but I know for me, I can tell a lot by a person's work ethic and personality and so forth. Now, do I think that it's appropriate to not hire somebody because they have a political view that you disagree with or something like that? I think there might be some rules that like you legally are not allowed to use as grounds. But like, yeah, you get wasted every night and you like to show off the beer. Like I'm a little concerned about you coming to work on the next morning and maybe like operating equipment or whatever it is that I'm, you know what I mean? Like I would want to know those types of things.
Yeah.
So.
I think we're all agree. The answer is
Yeah, I
yes.
just feel like,
Okay.
we don't want to see it private, block, put it private.
Right. Okay, what are your guys' thoughts on inclusion of religion in school curriculum?
My kids
What do you
go
mean?
to like school curriculum or just in
Like
school?
teaching religion, just like a sex ed class?
Yeah, like teaching about all the different religions.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I took a religion class in college that was super awesome. I got to learn about like all of the major faiths of the world, and there was no like bias. It was purely like this is what they believe, this is what they believe, this is how this faith broke out into these faiths, and this is kind of the history of it. It was fascinating. As long as the teacher is not pushing, I think, a
Like a
religion on
certain
our
view,
kids,
yeah.
And it's purely educational, I think that it'd be really actually helpful. Maybe if we understood each other's faiths a little bit more, we
Right.
could like better understand each other.
Here's what I think, though. I agree. Like, I think it would be awesome, and I would love to teach my kids about different religions and have them taught about different religions. But as a person whose religion gets bashed a lot and a lot of falsehoods about my religion, I'd be a little nervous about what they say about each religion.
Yeah, it almost like I can understand that. I would want to almost be like the curriculum would need to be approved by the religions that are being talked about.
Yeah.
Like they could look at it and say, does this accurately portray us like as we really are?
like that.
And then if we agree, then yes, you can use that.
I like
Something
that.
like that would be good.
That would be good.
I like it. I think because we do in college, you study. You can study religion. And I think like with my kids, like they go to a faith-based, their own faith, right? But I see the difference between like I feel like I would never put my kids in public school, based on what I see like religion does with like being in this like the school that they're in. I think sometimes like when you're being taught about something all the time, you it sticks to you to kind of be a little bit kinder, right? If you're learning about other religion and how people.
Because your kids go to a religious school.
Yeah. So you see this a little bit more kindness in people, especially when you keep being study about something over and over again and learning. You're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they uphold the values that the faith comes from.
Yes.
And
So
yeah.
I think putting it in school where you're teaching kids about other people, they're able to be more kind about other people's religions and be like, oh, that's why they're different. That's why they believe differently.
I love it.
So
I would love to have been, I went through the public school system, and I would have even just loved an overall basic synopsis of other religions and faith, like growing up, because like honestly, I thought I was in my own little world because I was surrounded by all the people in the same culture and religion. So like, I would have loved just very factual, like this is the Christian religion, these are the basic beliefs, this is the Buddhism and what it means, and like including my own, like I would have loved that as like a kid, like not into like college, like religion, but like in your normal curriculum as like a fifth grader.
Yeah.
I would love that for my kids. Okay, and the last one is, I'm just really interested, this might not be that hot, but what do you think minimum wage should be?
Oh, goodness. I think with the way, like for me, for the state of Utah, I'm saddened by how low the pay is for the state of Utah. I think every state so far has risen the minimum wage. And especially here in our economy when everything has like skyrocketed, like so high, like housing and everything. Groceries. There's no way to ask people to survive and go out there and make money and have a job, and they can't make like, you paying people $7.75? Like, what do they do with that? Like, I'm trying to think like of having a family of 4 and kids, and then like I was living, there's no way you can make ends meet. And then now like me that work with teenagers, we're teaching them skills, right? To go out there and be their own. And then it's like, oh, I want to get a room. And thank goodness some employees are paying more, but it definitely needs to go up a little high.
Tell me the dollar amount. For a teenager, 16-year-old, first job, what should we pay them?
I think they should start in at least the $10. Like,
how much is it here in Utah?
$7.75.
Really?
I actually didn't know that.
But
That
most
seems
people
really
don't.
low.
But most people don't pay that. But then the company though has the right
To
to
pay
go
that
that
low.
low.
Wow.
But like, of course, that's something. Thank goodness for McDonald's that do 15, In and
Or
Out
12,
that
yeah.
do, you know what I mean, a 12 that does those. But there's a company that can come out. I'm not gonna name names, but there is a company that pay people that much,
Right.
and that's not against the
You should
law.
name 'em.
Okay, like for me, like I'm thinking, like, what am I paying, like my neighborhood babysitters?
Babysitters.
Like I'm paying them like $10
$10
an hour,
yeah.
and they're like 10 to 12 to 13. So I would say
Yes.
like a 16-year-old who wants to work is like going out of their way to like start learning those skills. I think we should start them at 12.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Give
I think
it
that
$12.
sounds about right. I think I would agree with that with the teenagers. Where it starts to get very difficult for me is when I think about an adult person who has kids and, you know, for whatever reason that this is the type of job they can handle. And then it's like, well, how you, and don't get me wrong, like society in general, where we're at today, like we are a two-income society that we live in for the most part.
Yeah.
But with minimum wage as an adult, like you couldn't even do that with two people working unless one was not working a minimum wage job, one was working something that was
Yeah.
harder.
Right.
And that's where it gets more challenging for me because like what do we supposed to expect these people to do? I mean, maybe if we had like a minimum wage, but then there was like some sort of things that we could put into place to help them get the skills to get a higher paying job,
Yeah.
or maybe try to automate some of the lower paying jobs so that they could have a higher paying job and then that requires more skill. I don't really know if there's an easy answer to it. Teenagers, completely different. 10, 12 bucks an hour I think is great for minimum wage.
But then you have
man,
college
as an adult-
graduate that just graduate high college trying to find a job,
Yeah.
and they have a young family. Like nowadays, for you to make it, you probably need like a 2-income household a lot of
Totally.
the time.
Yeah.
2-income household to make it. And like trying to, like my friend, they're married, they have kids, they're trying to find a place like $2,200 a month. Some of them, that's how much they're like bringing
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'd have to even do the calculations to see if my number is right, but like, I wonder like, maybe like before 18, minimum wage is this, but after 18, minimum wage is actually a different number.
That's not a bad idea.
And maybe
Yeah.
it's like, it's a higher number, maybe it's like 20 bucks an hour, or $25 an hour or something like that. And
Because obviously your expenses, when you're 16, you're probably living at home, right?
Yeah.
And when you're 18, you're moving out. So yeah, I agree. Britt, did you have anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay, you guys, this was so fun. Typically our entire conversations are based off of one thing, but I think we all really loved this beef stew of an episode.
Yes.
So we want to create another episode, but with your hot topics. So below in the comments, we'd love to see your little spin-offs of one-off questions that you'd love to see us debate on the fly. Or I guess we shouldn't debate. We discuss.
share, we
We
share.
discuss and share. And again, we rely on you guys to tell us what you want to hear and how we can best serve and impact our community. So don't be shy, comment, message us, DM, share. We love the support and we love to be here for you guys. That's a wrap for this episode of The Brave Talk Show. If you're watching us on YouTube, there are more episodes that you will love on the window to the right, and we will see you guys on the other side.
Bye.
Bye.
I have some questions for